Well, hello everyone. This is the first drawing, so let us begin. This one is, my mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. And I had different ideas, some fantasy type of ideas, and none of those worked because the line itself doesn't sound like a fantastical setting, so I didn't like that idea at all. So I moved on and I thought about, well, what if it was like somebody who's on Tinder or something and he's flipping through his phone. So I thought about somebody who's sitting on a couch and looking at Tinder and looking at something really weird because Tinder has that reputation. And so I took the idea and I expanded a little bit and I was like, well, what if he was actually on the date and he's got his phone out maybe and he's looking at her and she looks a little different. So that's the premise for this one. This is the only drawing where you see the beginning to end of the drawing process. For the most part, the video would be extremely long if I just sat through the whole process because I was changing things as I went and things like that. So let's begin. So this is my sketching process right here. This is the very vague idea of what I want. I first started trying to draw ink the face in and I was like, no, I should do more of specifics and still in the sketch mode. So I quickly sketch in what I have in mind for generally what I would like for the face to be. I still might change it when I start inking it in. So this is the more basics. I'm drawing him in and I'm doing the hand and the arm and all those things, and I don't like what the arm is doing. So I was trying to change it right here. But I'll be moving from that and I'll come back to that later because I still don't like it. It still looks weird. So I move on to the girl. And here she is. I am adding some different things. I didn't actually change hers a whole lot at all. And here are the more specific details for the background and stuff. And now I have to hide the sketch so I can actually see what I'm doing for the rest of it. And adjusting the table, adjusting the lines, and the fact that she's actually tugging on and that she's got the tablecloth in her dress. And I thought I was thinking, like, how uncivilized can you be? And I wanted that to apply that to her. And I wanted his side to be super fancy. He's got all these forks. He's got all these butter knives. Once I fixed the glass, I had a whole bunch of butter knives. And I didn't have any spoons, which is funny, but so with hers, it's like I need to make it as messy as possible. Shoe on the table, foot on the table, using the tablecloth as a napkin, and I have more details here, and I'm adding some stuff on the floor, so it looks a little bit more, and I cheated by copy and pasting the other high heel. And so for this one, I just copy and paste, I add some stuff. I changed his hair. I didn't like what his hair was like before, but you didn't see that, so I did change his hair. And I'm coloring in. Some people might cringe at the coloring process here. I do change my coloring process as the drawings go, but this is the coloring process for this one, and I adjusted. And this one's a little simpler picture, so I'm not going to add a lot of shading or anything. I don't think I did a lot of shading for this one. I did change base colors, and here I'm adjusting her dress because I thought it didn't look quite fancy enough. So, this is giving her some nice curly hair and brown hair and looking all really super civilized, which is totally not the point. That's the closest to like a wine color. I didn't get too close to the wine color, but yep. And eating some super simple things, adjusting things here and there before I start coloring it, because once you color it, it's a little bit more difficult. You can adjust things, but it's annoying to adjust things after you have colored it. So and this is what she's now I'm coloring in the tables and chairs and really fixing that, adding the background. The other characters look a tad creepy. This is the different coloring process I was talking about. This is a little bit faster and a little bit more clean, and fixing the eyes so they don't look so creepy. Coloring that in so you see the words of what's going on there, and add some glow to the flame. And I changed in the end. I did change the floor because I felt like it was too dark, and all the colors were pretty dark in the background, and the characters were starting to blend in, so I changed that a bit. And this is the finished process for my mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. So there you go. This one's a little bit harder. I had sketched out the entire thing first, but I started in a different program. So this one, I had lots of problems with this one because there's a whole bunch of... I was trying to do a more realistic approach. As you can see here, I'm trying to have a reference for this girl. I'm trying to draw a young girl in this picture, and it's not really working. So I'm really struggling with like this more realistic cartoon type of thing, and she's got like, now she's got Mickey Mouse shoes, so that's great. But yeah, there's like a whole bunch of adjusting here, and I'm constantly adjusting. I'm like, this is just not working at all, and I spent time trying to figure out what was wrong with this. Like, the girl on the right never really changes a lot, but the little girl on the left is like too big. It's a little strange, and so yeah, I'm doing it again. I'm trying to change it, and it's looking better. She looks younger. The nose, really fixed the nose. The nose in the other one looked a little strange, so I'm trying to just re-sketch her from the beginning, because sometimes you just gotta call it quits and do it all over again. And I'm still doing it here, but it still isn't quite working. It's a little strange, and this is my mistake. I start inking in before I had actually fixed most of everything, and you can tell it's so disproportionately wonky and it's not working. And I wanted to do it in this program because I thought I might have a different feeling, a different look to it. This program is a little weird. It's Corel Painters. It's not the same as Illustrator. It's quirky in this way that you have to, like, if you change the line, the whole line will change, and that's really weird. So you have to put it on different layers, and it's super inconvenient. So that's what I was doing before, and I think I was trying. Like, this isn't a whole lot different than what I ended up with, but I didn't really like it still. Like, see, I'm still adjusting her face, and this you don't want to be doing this after you've inked it in, and the lines are not going to look quite as pretty. That's why I like to sketch everything in a lot before I finish. So I'm adding the color, and I'm going to be coloring most of this. I thought about keeping it in here, but I feel like for me, Illustrator works a little bit better. I think I'd have to change my drawing process if I did it in Corel Painter instead of Illustrator. And I have done a picture in Corel Painter before, but it is a little bit different. And it's got some neat features that Illustrator doesn't have, but it's got some other quirks that I could live without. So I'm adding hair here, and then there's the big switch. Now I'm practically done. I've colored everything, I've shaded everything. That's because this thing had gave me a lot more trouble than I was expecting. So yeah, I switched to Illustrator. I inked everything in. I'm signing it. Charity's special because she loves the unlovable. So I'm going to go over some of the symbolism real quick. The only indication that was given to me was that Charity is a little girl. And the person who gave this to me, Leona, her stuff is in the description, so if you want to check out her stuff. But that's the only information that she gave me, was that Charity was a little girl, and I probably would have ended up as this picture anyway, because I was thinking that my idea for the picture was that somebody would be comforting someone else, and that person who would be the one who's comforting would represent Charity, love. So I thought the person who was being comforted would have some ripped clothes, they would have some cuts, they would have bruises, representing a very hard life. And the things that surround her also it may not always necessarily apply to her personally, but things that people find themselves in. So you probably can't really tell, but the ripped paper, that's a ripped marriage license. It represents a broken marriage. That is a alcohol bottle right next to it, and that represents alcoholism. And then we have the pills, the prescription pills, and sometimes those people get addicted to those, so that represent like drug addiction in that form. There's a syringe on the right side of the screen, and that also represents that type of lifestyle. There is a baggie with some white substance in it that's also supposed to be some drugs itself, and the money. And the money is basically, it's dirty money. money that had been attained from doing certain things or getting involved in certain things that really just tear you up in the inside, and in the end it does not satisfy and you're more miserable than ever. And then the knife, there's blood there, and it represents that people sometimes cut themselves when they are like ashamed, and it's really heartbreaking. So all the stuff surrounding these two characters is supposed to represent all different kinds of brokenness. And the reason why I picked a girl weeping is because I didn't want her to be able to see the face. Her face is supposed to be unknown to us so that she could literally be anyone. So when it's a girl, the hair really helps conceal the face. So that's why I made it a girl. I don't want anybody to put a specific face to it. I don't want to give her a particular look. This person that we see here could be anyone, and anyone could be struggling with these same things. And Charity, the little girl, make her look about as innocent as can be. I would want to make sure that her colors were bright. What she was wearing was bright. So very pink. She's wearing tights. She's very well put together. She's very clean, but she is still loving and wanting to be there for this poor person. So that's the symbolism for this picture. There's a little bit more to it than the first one. That's why this took me longer. So yeah, that's why Charity's special, because she loves the unlovable, and that's what I got with this one. Okay, so this one I sketched everything in already. This is supposed to be a humorous picture. I guess I ended up kind of drawing Gandalf more so than I kind of meant to. But yeah, this one, it's worthless. The line is, it's worthless, and somebody else says it's less than worthless, my boy. So I immediately thought of a funny fantasy setting. And you can tell that I'm really trying, I mean, this stuff is really sloppy, but I'm adjusting things here and there as I go. And trying to make sure that it all fits, adjusting his foot, adjusting his robes, and his head, and making sure I strike a more dynamic pose with him. So now I'm going to fix the table because that was really wonky, the first thing I had drawn in. And I'm fixing that here. I didn't do my layers as well as I should have, so that's why I was doing that weird racing thing. And now sketching in the chairs a little bit more. Things probably aren't totally proportionally correct in this picture, but that's not the point. This one's supposed to be a little bit more fun than the previous one. So now it's a big jump. I have sketched in the background that I want. So now I'm going to be like drawing it in, and it can kind of tell what I'm drawing in exactly because the sketch things just make it look really weird. But yeah, I thought it'd be funny that I think one of the most worthless things in the world are in fact plastic knives. And I thought it'd be funny if some fantasy setting somebody was trying to use it and found out that it was like, this is like garbage. What is this? And the wizard's like, oh yeah, totally. It's all garbage. So I was drawing that in, and now I'm coloring this guy in. The layers worked a little bit differently this time. Yeah, see, I changed up my coloring strategy right here. This is what I should have done from the beginning. But yeah, so yeah, except for the smaller stuff. I use a brush for the smaller stuff because it's a little bit easier. But yeah, the layers worked a little bit differently. That's why the color's going over that black line, and it's super obnoxious. But I adjust that later, and I fix that so it's not everywhere. I do shade this a little bit more. The first one I didn't like shade at all. The second one I shaded quite a bit. This one's going to have just a little bit, not a whole lot. So this is the speed of which I am. This is true life speed right here. I totally draw this fast all the time. No, that's not true. So everything's been fast forward quite a bit. So yeah, I'm changing the colors because I thought his hair was a bit dark. And look at that. Now we got the robes, and this will go by a lot faster. I do, as I color, keep in mind of the lighting. So when I color like the inside of his robes or his belt, I do keep in mind what the lighting would be, and you'll see this especially when I color the table. But yeah, I keep the basics. Big giant leap. I start coloring in the background, and this is how I do it, especially with the background stuff. Illustrator has this weird thing that if you have just a little bit color outside of that line. You can see the black lines are coming out of the confines of the picture, that when you export it, it'll take that with it because it sees it there. And that's why the edges, I have to make sure that the edges are especially in straight. So that's kind of annoying. But yeah, I'm adding some shading in the background to make it look like these are actually logs, and there will be some type of shading. I'm not going to get too detailed into the shading because this is a cartoon and it's not supposed to be hyper realistic. So I do adjust it as I go, change that out, decide that wasn't working. So yeah, I get a little bit specifics with and my little glow for the fire, make sure that's there so it looks a little bit more ambient. And yep, a little bit here and there. I thought I messed with that. I wasn't sure if I wanted that. I decided not to keep it. So yeah, this is what this is. I don't know where this line came from at all, but this is what I came up with when I first heard it, and this was basically my first idea and I ran with it. So yeah, this is what it is. The reveal. There we go. Plastic knives, everyone can see. This one was really fast. This actually took the least amount of time. I was going to do a silhouette picture with this one. And I know that when I'm drawing, like a lot of the details I'm not going to really see. But I still want that idea there. So now I'm putting in the silhouette. See what I have. And I have to keep... The silhouettes are a little bit harder because you have to be more specific with the body language, with the body position, so that it's easy to read. You're not reading the faces or anything, so that's all. So you have to make sure that your poses for these people are super clear. And the line is, I believe it's, you're braver than you believe, you're smarter than you think, and you're stronger than you seem, or something. So yeah, big giant jump. This took a lot less time than I thought it would, kind of. So I wasn't recording much. But yeah, I'm adjusting the silhouette. His face structure was a little off, and I wanted to change that. I also changed the mother. She's still not quite right, so what I'm trying to do here is adjust her. But I have to separate these parts into like almost different, they're not different layers, but so yeah, I'm trying to adjust her so it's more obvious what's going on, giving her foot a little bit more of a pleasing pose, and more so than what it's supposed to be, and make it more obvious that the mother's pregnant, she's got her hand on her stomach, and that's about it, and that she's looking on at this touching moment between father and son. And that's what so I use the brush when I need to smooth out some lines. This is how I adjust it. And I was comparing, seeing if this looked better than it did before, especially with the father's face, but also with her knee. Like, I wanted to kind of see her knee, but not too much. But yeah, I'm still adjusting the father's face. I briefly thought about giving him a nose to make it more obvious, but I felt like what I had was working, so I was just going to leave that the way it was, and it might make it more unclear. So yeah, this is what I ended up with. This is the simpler picture. I went for the simpler approach, and this is what I ended up with. And this is the first idea that came in mind, and that is it. And thank you for watching.